Welcome to the Young Wealth Show, where you'll truly learn how to make, spend, and invest money for an awesome life. Get the real-life stuff that wasn't part of your school curriculum. Young Wealth gives you innovative new ways of dealing with your finances, as well as the skills and tools you're going to need to survive and be successful out on your own. Let the Young Wealth Show be your GPS to take you from clueless to clued in. Here is your host, Jason Hartman, with Young Wealth.
Hey, welcome to the Young Wealth Show. This is episode number 4, and I'm your host, Jason Hartman. And here we want to talk about the 11 commandments of young wealth. And normally in my for-profit show, which is the Creating Wealth Show, which you may have heard, I have 10 commandments of successful investing. And on my Holistic Survival show, I have the 10 commandments of holistic survival. But for whatever reason, when it came to young wealth and what young people need to do to get ahead in life, we came up with 11 commandments. We just couldn't cut it off at 10, so you get an extra one. Anyway, I hope you like this show. It's got some great tips in it, and our upcoming shows, we've got 2 young people that are doing a great job with young wealth. One of them is one of the listeners to one of my other shows who sent me some great Zimbabwe dollars when we're talking about inflation and stuff like that. That's a very important model to look at. And another one is the author of Rich by 30. She wrote a book on that and was on Oprah and has had a lot of press out of it. And it's just great to see young people kind of getting their head on straight at the beginning, because it's so much easier when you start out right, isn't it? Anyway, let's go to the 11 commandments of young wealth. Here they are.
The 11 Commandments of Financial Success. In addition to the 3 C's of financial success, we've also defined 11 commandments of success to supplement the principles of credit, capital, and competency. These 11 commandments are: 1. Thou shalt pay thyself first. 2. Thou shalt not accumulate excessive consumer debt. 3. Thou shalt build thy credit score judiciously. 4. Thou shalt budget thy time and money wisely. 5. Thou shalt build financial literacy. 6. Thou shalt seek knowledge from the wise. 7. Thou shalt avoid knowledge from the foolish. 8. Thou shalt not seek something for nothing. 9. Thou shalt learn about investments before investing thy money. 10. Thou shalt not envy the achievements of others. And 11. Thou shalt choose thy partner wisely. Mastery of the 3 C's and the 11 commandments will place you well on your way toward financial success and eventually financial independence. Now let's break these down for you.
1. Thou shalt pay thyself first. In 1926, George Samuel Clayson published a book entitled The Richest Man in Babylon that used parables set in ancient Babylon to communicate financial concepts and advice. One of the most renowned parables in the book is the cure for a lean purse. In this story, the wealthiest man in Babylon states that the first cure is to start thy purse to fattening. The method by which he advocates fattening your purse is that for every 10 coins you place into your purse, only remove 9 to spend. Thus, over time, the purse will be fattened by the coins which have been left there by the owner. This principle is affectionately known as pay yourself first and is the foundation of all financial success. Fundamentally, the principle to pay yourself first means that every time you earn money, you invest a certain portion first and spend what remains afterward. This runs precisely opposite from the way that most people behave. Most people spend their pay first with the intention of investing anything that happens to be left over. The only problem is that there never seems to be anything left over at the end of the month to invest. Another way to think of this commandment is to shift the mental paradigm for your financial habits. Most people invest what you do not spend, but you should seek to spend what you do not invest. On the surface, this principle seems unbelievably simple. Spending less than you earn so that you can invest the difference is not any kind of dazzling insight. It's not sexy and it's not sophisticated. However, it is the most sure way to build long-term wealth, since the amount you invest will continually compound over time and build an ever-increasing empire of capital in your service. Furthermore, it is quite safe to say that more cases of financial ruin result from a failure to observe this commandment than from all other sources combined. Thus, the first and most important principle of financial success is, and always will be, to pay yourself first.
2. Thou shalt not accumulate excessive consumer debt. P.T. Barnum once said that money is like fire. It's a splendid servant, but a poor master. Now, the subtle genius of that statement is that money, which has been invested steadily, earns returns day in and day out as a faithful servant whose sole purpose is to increase your wealth. Conversely, when you owe money to creditors, it works against you day in and day out, claiming an ever-increasing share of your future wealth. If the burden of debt is allowed to grow too large, it becomes a crushing force of gravity that weighs down on you like a rock tied around the neck of somebody who's been thrown into the river. This commandment is really an extension of the first commandment to pay yourself first. Consumer debt frequently results from people who spend beyond their income. By paying yourself first and only spending what remains afterwards, it allows you to pay off any credit card bills or other consumer debt in the month that it is undertaken, so that interest and fees do not accrue. Avoiding debt carries a double benefit, since preventing the compounding of interest owed will leave more of your income free for investment to build your wealth faster. Of course, there are always situations where significant debt is accumulated in response to an emergency or where individuals don't learn the principles of financial success until after a large amount of debt has been undertaken. In these situations, the important thing is to find ways that your spending can be reduced so that the debt obligations are repaid more quickly. Now, this statement is directed primarily at consumer debt, since there are many forms of investment debt that can be beneficial if used to finance assets that produce regular cash flow. Nevertheless, it is critically important to stay out from under the thumb of consumer debt so that it does not crush your wealth-building capacity.
3. Thou shalt build thy credit score judiciously. In the current financial world, your credit score is a critical part of building an investment portfolio. It can also be an important part of your employment prospects and can significantly impact your life's expenses, since both employers and insurers frequently look at credit scores, and home loans are directly influenced by home scores. Thus, it is quite clear that building and guarding your credit score can have a very profound impact on your financial future. One of the best ways to build credit is to develop a long track record of making payments on time. The way that many people choose to achieve this goal is to take out a credit card and make normal purchases with it, paying it off at the end of each month. In this example, the credit card should not be changing your spending patterns, since you will not be carrying a balance by spending money you cannot afford to pay back at the end of the month. As time goes by, you will develop a track record of on-time payment and your score will escalate. Another advantage of this strategy is that another factor in your credit score is the percentage of your available credit that you carry in the form of a debt balance. When you pay your credit card off every month, you are not carrying a balance, and the credit reporting agencies will rightly interpret this as evidence that you are responsible with credit. In addition to building your credit score, another very important consideration is protecting your credit score. Of all ways to kill your credit, the easiest is co-signing on somebody else's loan. The reason for this is because you will be held liable for the actions of other people. If you value your credit, you should never co-sign for anybody else under any conditions at any time. Other things that will significantly impact your credit score are late payments. Penalties for late payments are assessed on 30, 60, and 90-day delinquencies. Clearly, you want to ensure that all of your payments are made on time. Following these simple guidelines will help you to build your credit score so that it becomes a valuable asset in your endeavors to build wealth.
4. Thou shalt budget thy time and money wisely. It's been said that the surest way to wealth is always to spend less than you make. Now, this allows you to continually invest the difference and frequently results in great wealth over long periods of time. However, the critical link in this chain is to regulate your outflows by your incomes. Many people choose to use credit cards as a means of continuing their prior spending habits when the income falls short. Now, this produces two very big difficulties for your financial future. The first is a lack of investment, and the second, a growing debt burden. So, what's the big problem with missing a few months of investing anyway? Well, the problem is that investments compound over time, and neglecting your investment program for multiple months robs you of this extremely powerful wealth-building tool. Furthermore, the power of habit can turn a couple of months of neglecting your investments into a long-term lifestyle of short-term spending in lieu of long-term wealth building. There are many people who engage in this behavior, and lots of these folks will eventually be left in a lurch when they discover that the government cannot meet its entitlement obligations and they have no investments of their own to depend on. As a young adult, you have time on your side when it comes to investing. Most people wait until it's almost too late before planning for retirement. Since prudent investment strategies can take many years to realize their maximum potential, it's best to start your investment program early. This will allow your investments to grow and compound multiple times before you reach retirement. Benjamin Franklin once said that a small leak can sink a great ship. This statement is frequently cited as a metaphor for financial habits. A small habit of overspending on debt can sink the great ship of your financial future by creating a debt burden that grows and grows until you can't afford to pay the interest from your normal income. Clearly, the best way to avoid being crushed by a gigantic consumer debt burden is to avoid building that burden in the first place.
5. Thou shalt build financial literacy. Financial literacy is the knowledge about deals and investing that will guide your decisions from a basis of intelligence. The risk implicit in any type of activity goes down significantly when you are educated. This is true in both the natural and financial world. Attempting to ski or snowboard down a steep hill could be seen as near suicidal for an inexperienced beginner, or could be made to look extremely easy by an expert. Similarly, the risk of financial activities goes down significantly when you are educated and experienced. The reason for this is the same reason why experienced skiers and snowboarders can navigate the mountain easier than beginners. They know what to look for, where to go, and what to avoid. This knowledge does not mean that they never fall, but it means that they can actively avoid a crippling disaster. There are multiple ways that you can build financial literacy. The most rudimentary and possibly most important method is to read and observe. Reading books, articles, and newsletters is an excellent way to gain ideas, insights, and perspectives. When this active process of acquiring knowledge is paired with observation of behavior in the economic markets, it allows for the formation of independent conclusions and insights. Forming your own insights is critically important, since there are many people that get adversely influenced by crooks and hucksters because they have not developed the necessary financial literacy to see the danger of what is being proposed. As your financial literacy continues, it will be important to continue reading, observing, and attending events or discussions that hone your abilities. A unique phenomenon about education is that when you crest the threshold of knowledge, it quickly becomes apparent how many subjects your knowledge is lacking in. One way of expressing this idea is the sentiment that true knowledge does not occur until you become fully aware of the subjects upon which you are ignorant. As you become more and more aware, it makes sense to expand the scope of your financial literacy to cover the areas of emerging opportunity that you have recently become aware of. Repeating this ongoing process of gaining awareness, developing skill, and gaining further awareness is how you can build a vast amount of wisdom and knowledge that will serve you throughout the tenure of your natural life, and may even live on to the benefit of your successors through your financial estate and the education that you've passed along to the next generation.
6. Thou shalt seek knowledge from the wise. The people that you choose to listen to are a very important part of your life and success. Each of us frequently meets people who possess knowledge and wisdom that can help us. Ralph Waldo Emerson once commented that each person is his superior in some way, and in that he had an opportunity to learn. One of the most important things that any person can do is to embrace opportunities to learn. Learning opportunities present a wealth of benefits. First of all, they offer additional perspectives that can help to expand our circle of wisdom in observing and evaluating situations in business and life. Second, they give us the chance to learn new ideas and strategies. Since these learning opportunities frequently come from other people, it makes sense to pursue knowledge from people who possess wisdom that we can use. The key difference between people who passively learn and those who actively seek knowledge from the wise can be vast. Passive observation can certainly be beneficial, but it's frequently very limited in scope since opportunities to observe wise people are not very frequent. By seeking out those who have beneficial knowledge and wisdom for their advice, you'll be accomplishing two goals. The first is to add to your own knowledge, and the second is to demonstrate to the people providing you with this wisdom that you value their thoughts and opinions. Most people will naturally gravitate to where they're valued and appreciated. Use this phenomenon to your advantage, and the benefits can be very great.
7. Thou shalt avoid knowledge from the foolish. It is very true that we can learn something from anybody. In many cases, this takes the form of learning what not to do by observing people who make big mistakes that handicap their lives. In a strange twist of irony, the people who make the worst personal and financial choices are frequently the most insistent that you listen to their advice. This is not to say that you should be rude or arrogant, but that you should be observant and aware. When you are listening to somebody's advice, ask yourself if they have already attained what you want to achieve. Frequently, the people who are the greatest achievers tend to be the least forceful with their advice. The reason for this is because most people will disregard advice that is pushed on them. Thus, if you wish to get valuable insights from those who are successful, it is recommended to simply ask them how they achieved their success. Conversely, if somebody is pushing their advice on you without being asked or invited, then there is a reasonable chance that their advice may not be the kernel of knowledge that grows into your tree of success.
8. Thou shalt not seek something for nothing. The desire to acquire something of value without providing anything in exchange, or something for nothing, is a pervasive impulse that induces many people to engage in gambling or get-rich-quick schemes that promise fast profits with little risk. It's very important to realize that the real world exists on the principle of mutually beneficial exchange. Practically speaking, this means that when you and I do business, I'll only conduct business if I'm getting something from you that I value in excess of what I'm paying, and you'll only conduct business with me if you can do so profitably. In the event that one of us is not getting adequate value, we have the ability to walk away and not do business. This notion forms the fundamental backbone of a market economy. When mutually beneficial voluntary transactions take place, it improves the life of each person involved with every deal and every transaction. When the focus of commerce shifts from providing products and services of value to finding methods of extracting resources without providing anything in exchange, it creates very large economic problems when an increasing amount of people spend their time trying to get rich quick instead of doing other activities that actually produce something of value. It's certainly true that there are many schemes to manipulate the market that have been tried over the years. Some of these schemes were even successful for an extended period of time. However, consider the fact that no strategy for manipulating the market can persist indefinitely. At some point, the house of cards must collapse. Thus, the people who make the big profits from market manipulation are the first people on the bus who convince all the other people to come along for the ride. When values have been inflated from a market bubble, the people at the front of the pack sell, take their profits, and go on to the next scheme. Now, it's very tempting to despise and disparage these con artists and shysters, but consider that there would be no profits for these crooks if no suckers existed who were desperately seeking something for nothing. Needless to say, one should seek to avoid being one of the suckers.
9. Thou shalt learn about investments before investing thy money. As children, most of us learn practical lessons like look both ways before crossing the street that make perfect sense in the context of our natural lives. However, these same teachings are frequently discarded when it comes to money and investing. They are unfortunately replaced with a herd mentality to dump your money into whatever investment class has been going up for a while. The reason why this tendency carries such danger is because people grow to believe that an asset class, such as stocks or real estate, that has appreciated in value before will continue to appreciate in value forever. Individual investments such as company stocks, houses, or apartment buildings have unique circumstances that drive their values up or down over time, sometimes in the opposite direction of the overall market. However, the only thing that can drive the total market upward or downward is movements of investment capital in or out of the market. What this means is that if no new investors are found, and all people do is trade stocks among themselves, the aggregate returns of every stock outstanding would add up to zero. Actually, it'd be less than zero after you subtract the fees and commissions. The only way that the total market value grows over time is if new investors can be found to bring in new capital. However, people simply assume that markets will continue to grow indefinitely simply because they have done so in the past, and that is not always a valid assumption. In order to achieve the necessary wealth for financial independence, a certain amount of investing will be required. However, it is critically important to learn about markets, risks, and strategy before throwing your money into an investment. It would be silly to attempt a 50-mile bike ride if you have never ridden a bike before. Before a long journey can be undertaken, training and preparation must be done. This principle is true in the natural world, and it holds equally true in the financial world as well.
10. Thou shalt not envy the achievements of others. Envy seems to be the cause du jour of the 21st century. News editorials are constantly filled with accounts of the haves and have-nots, with the underlying premise that it's not fair for some people to achieve great wealth while other people are in poverty. Further extension of this tendency is found in the consistent exhortations for the rich to, quote, pay their fair share, end quote, of taxes. Now, bear in mind that a recent IRS publication showed that the top 5% of earners pay more income taxes than the bottom 75% combined. The underlying belief behind these trends is the notion that people get rich by cheating and swindling the public, while being honest dooms you to a life of poverty. It's certainly true that some people become wealthy through dishonest means, but the overwhelming majority of wealthy individuals became so through years of honest work and disciplined investment. For evidence of this claim, consider the fact that if all rich people were crooks, it would not be newsworthy. News agencies only report on things that are abnormal or unusual. If graft, corruption, and malfeasance were the normal behaviors, nobody would bother to report it in the news. The fact that such behaviors are abnormal and unexpected is what makes them newsworthy in the first place. Ultimately, the reason why we strongly advocate against developing envy for the success of others is because spite and jealousy are not conducive to constructive thoughts and actions. The success of others should inspire you to act, and inspiration cannot coexist with envy. Every minute spent in jealousy over the success or achievements of somebody else is a minute that you've lost for the purpose of propelling yourself toward success. Be active in seizing opportunities for improvement, and ignore the temptation to despair and envy. Someday your success may serve as the inspiration for other people to create achievements of their own.
11. Thou shalt choose thy partner wisely. If there is any one place where it is important to choose wisely, the choice of a partner or spouse is truly where that advice applies in a magnitude that exceeds comprehension. It is critically important that your choice of a spouse or partner be somebody who shares your personal, spiritual, and financial priorities. Healthy relationships are created and sustained by working together to make key decisions. When decisions are not made from the same basis of values, it can create great strain on the relationship. For example, there are many ways that relationships can be strained by financial decisions. The most common way that this happens is when people have different spending priorities, frequently manifesting itself with one person being a saver and another being a spender. Needless to say, this can cause significant aggravation when finances become pinched and one person wants to have a good time while the other wants to save or invest. Another way that this can happen is if major financial decisions are made without including the other person. In the end, it is critical to ensure that both you and your partner are making important decisions together. Many people say that money cannot buy happiness, and they are right. However, the lack of money or disagreements about financial priorities can definitely cause quite a bit of unhappiness. This is one of the many reasons why it is so important to choose your spouse or partner wisely. By choosing a person who shares your personal and financial priorities, it will allow financial decisions to be something that brings you together instead of drives you apart. The reason why many people seek to achieve financial success is providing a good life for their family. This is a very laudable goal and is best achieved by two people working as a team instead of two people working against one another because of spite or jealousy.
Making it happen. Achieving financial success requires consistent study and discipline. Application of the 3 C's will build your credit, capital, and competency on the path toward long-term success. Developing mastery of the 11 Commandments will allow you to take control of your financial future. Contrary to the depictions of popular culture, the overwhelming majority of wealthy people did not inherit their money or win the lottery. Most people who achieve wealth do so with consistent, disciplined action over a long period of time. Thus, we see that going from zero to success is within the capacity of most people to accomplish if they're willing to do the work and stay focused. The only question remaining is what you're willing to do for the sake of your financial success.
Copyright the Hartman Media Company. For publication rights and interviews, please email media@jasonhartman.com. This show offers very general information concerning real estate for investment purposes. Opinions of guests are their own. Jason Hartman is acting as president of Platinum Properties Investor Network exclusively. Nothing contained herein should be considered personalized, personal, financial, investment, legal, or tax advice. Every investor's strategy and goals are unique. You should consult with a licensed real estate broker or agent or other licensed investment, tax, and/or legal advisor before relying on any information contained herein. Information is not guaranteed. Please call 714-820-4200 and visit www.jasonhartman.com for additional disclaimers, disclosures, and questions.